The greatest fine art of the future will be the making of a comfortable living from a small piece of land. Determine that the thing can and shall be done, and then we shall find the way. I have never refused to do anything that does not conflict with my religious convictions. The ballot is stronger than the bullet. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other one thing. Tact is the ability to describe others as they see themselves. I have never used a word that I was aware would pain anybody unnecessarily. I have never learned to fear what I have never feared. You can fool all the people some of the time, and some of the people all the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. I desire so to conduct the affairs of this administration that, if at the end I have lost every other friend on earth, I shall at least have one friend left, and that friend shall be down inside of me. I have been driven many times upon my knees by the overwhelming conviction that I had nowhere else to go. My own wisdom and that of all about me seemed insufficient for that day. Upon the subject of education, I can only say that I view it as the most important subject which we as a people may be engaged in. I have never sought to conceal my differences with Judge Douglas. America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. A house divided against itself cannot stand. I have never yet engaged in any controversy in which my motives were questioned. Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried on him personally. Those who look for the bad in people will surely find it. That some achieve great success is proof to all that others can achieve it as well. I'm a success today because I had a friend who believed in me and I didn't have the heart to let him down. I have never advocated war except as a means of peace. I have never believed there was any question submitted to the American people that did not contain somewhat of good for them. Most folks are as happy as they make up their minds to be. Our reliance is in the love of liberty which God has planted in us. Our defense is in the preservation of the spirit which prizes liberty as the heritage of all men, in all lands, everywhere. I have stepped out upon this platform that I may see you, and that you may see me, and in the arrangement I have the best of the bargain. I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live up to what light I have. No matter how much cats fight, there always seem to be plenty of kittens. I walk slowly, but I never walk backward. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. I care not much for a man's religion whose dog and cat are not better treated for it. Don't worry when you are not recognized, but strive to be worthy of recognition. The best way to get a bad law repealed is to enforce it strictly. I have never wanted any office other than the presidency. Things may come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle. 70 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. I have not allowed myself to forget that I am here not by my own choice, but by the will of the people. Elections belong to the people. It's their decision. If they decide to turn their back on the fire and burn their behinds, then they will just have to sit on their blisters. It often requires more courage to dare to do right than to fear to do wrong. I don't know who my grandfather was. I am much more concerned to know what his grandson will be. To sin by silence when they should protest makes cowards of men. I leave you, hoping that the lamp of liberty will burn in your homes as in mine. When I do good, I feel good. When I do bad, I feel bad. That's my religion. As I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master. This expresses my idea of democracy. What kills a skunk is the publicity it gives itself. I have no greater wish than to secure the earliest possible restoration of peace. I have always found that mercy bears richer fruits than strict justice. I hope to stand firm enough to not go backwards, and yet not to stand fast enough to prevent the moving forward. Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak out and remove all doubt. You have to do your own growing no matter how tall your grandfather was. I have never practiced deceiving the people. I have never taken any pains to conceal my views. Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. I destroy my enemies when I make them my friends. The best way to predict your future is to create it. My dream is of a place and a time where America will once again be seen as the last best hope of earth. The time comes upon every public man when it is best for him to keep his lips closed. Whatever you are, be a good one. I laugh because I must not cry. That is all. That is all. I have always hated slavery, I think, as much as any abolitionist. Character is like a tree and reputation its shadow. The shadow is what we think of it. The tree is the real thing. My concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right. There is another old poet whose name I do not now remember who said, "Truth is generally the best vindication against slander." With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds. All my days I have loved honesty and trusted sincerity. I'm a firm believer in the people. If given the truth, they can be depended upon to meet any national crisis. The great point is to bring them the real facts. Public opinion in this country is everything. He has a right to criticize, who has a heart to help. If you look for the bad in people expecting to find it, you surely will. The probability that we may fail in the struggle ought not to deter us from the support of a cause we believe to be just. Sir, my concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right. And the President of the United States is commissioned by the authority of we the people to wage war. Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves. Labor is prior to and independent of capital. Capital is only the fruit of labor, and could never have existed if labor had not first existed. Labor is the superior of capital, and deserves much higher consideration. I never had a policy. I have just tried to do my very best each and every day. I happen temporarily to occupy this big white house. I am living witness that any one of your children may look to come here as my father's child has done. Common-looking people are the best in the world. That is the reason the Lord makes so many of them. If once you forfeit the confidence of your fellow citizens, you can never regain their respect and esteem. I do not think much of a man who is not wiser today than he was yesterday. You can have anything you want if you want it badly enough. I do the very best I know how, the very best I can. And I mean to keep doing so until the end. I am not concerned that you have fallen. I am concerned that you arise. Honesty is the best policy when there is money in it. The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next. I have never approved, upon principle, of retaliating by a resort to frauds upon a scale like that attempted by General Worth. My great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure. I hold that, while man exists, it is his duty to improve himself day by day. I have constantly declared that, in my opinion, the safety of our country depends strictly upon maintaining inviolate these cardinal principles of human rights. The best thing about the future is that it comes one day at a time. We should be too big to take offense and too noble to give it. You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. I have never worn a woman's bonnet, nor carried a parasol. Stand with anybody that stands right. Stand with him while he is right, and part with him when he goes wrong. I have talked with great men, and I do not see how they differ from others. Character is like a tree, and reputation like its shadow. The shadow is what we think of it. The tree is the real thing. I don't like that man. I must get to know him better. I have often wished that I were a mechanic or a farmer, anything rather than a politician. Books serve to show a man that those original thoughts of his aren't very new after all.